Hello everyone, welcome to Ciclomanias online tutorials, and for today we are so excited to share with you our painting technique for the do-it-yourself daubs kit. So I hope you enjoy it. If you have your painting box kit at hand, you will have all the material you need to bring your daubs to life, including the flying daub and the perched daub. And if you purchase per separate the do-it-yourself kits, then I will ask you to have at hand a piece of cardboard, a small palette, and then a jumbo brush and a thin brush as well. Toothpicks are going to be very handy, you will see why. Magnets, depending if you're going to use it as a magnet or as a Christmas ornament, maybe a string, have at hand. And your primary colors, acrylic paints is what we use, and glue. Other than that, we are all set to start with the session. Okay, so for the painting session, we are going to start with one color that will allow us to actually play with the shadows and the lights, which is black. So the first thing that I will ask you to do is to actually, if your paint is not liquid enough, so I will ask you to add a couple of drops of water, so it should look like this. So it's easier to carry and just put on your palette like this. So you don't mix colors between them using your brush. Instead, you just have the palette to make all the mixes here. So start also with your jumbo or the thicker brush that you have. And the goal of this phase is actually to cover the cardboard. So we start painting at what we call the flute of the cardboard. So those spaces on the edges. So the main goal, again, of the black is just to cover that cardboard. And second objective is actually to allow us to play with the shadows and the light. So that will help us to whatever color you decide to paint to make it happen once it's all black. And as I mentioned, one of the worst enemies of cardboard is water. So we need to be very careful in the amount of water we use here. So you will see when it's too liquid, you just stop, wait, and let the paint dry. And you do the same with the other one. So that way, you can use actually the other, start painting the other daub while the other gets dry. So you do that, and all the body and all the spaces, covering the whole area. And inside is easier to paint like this, right? In all directions. So at the end, what it should look like is like this. So you cover the whole body of your daub, as you can see here, and of your flying daub as well. So cover completely on black, starting with the edges, with the flute of the cardboard here. So the second stage is to wash your brush. And you can just have a little glass with water and just remove the paint. Make sure you have a little cloth or maybe a piece of napkin at hand, so you just dry that as much as possible and clean and remove the color. So the second phase is, if we're gonna paint, in this case, a blue daub, so we're gonna have to use a little bit of our blue. So in our palette, just put a little bit of that blue, like this. And then again, we use our jumbo thick brush. And what we start doing is actually putting in what the light of our dough will be, which is on the outside shades, like this. And you paint in all directions, like this. You do the same with the other one. In all directions, like this. You can actually use as well your little or small thinner brush to help a little bit. So like this, in all directions, leaving a little bit that dark side. That dark side is wonderful because that is gonna help us with the 3D effect. So it's gonna be more like the dark side and the light. So shadows and lights. And you just do in all directions, keeping a little bit of that black area. Just leave it like that, and then all directions. And before you put it directly, just make sure that you mix it here. So this cardboard will help us to absorb the excess of water that the brush may have. And then you put it in all directions here, And then if you have a lot of paint, you just put it on the side. So the excess of water remains in those edges instead of watering the whole piece. So something like this, and then directions here. And then you do the same on the back. So you start in all directions. Leave a little bit of the dark areas as well. So in this case, our dark is gonna be on the bottom and lights on the top. Painting a little bit on the edges, although it's already painted with the black, so not too much paint there, just a little bit. And as you can see, it's easier to put any color on black background. So that is why I always paint all my crafts, all what we have on our online stores on black. So it's always the starting point. It's easier to paint even to get to white from black. There are different styles of painting. This is my style, but feel free to experiment with whatever technique you know, and especially with the colors, because having the palette allows you also to mix with other tones. And I start adding now a little bit more of whites, but the white, and then I mix it with the blue. And then I start putting a little bit of white, but allowing again the black, then the dark blue, and then the lighter blue. So the same on the body, the main body. You do the same on the tail, allowing the dark to remain, and then the lighter colors, and then the darker blue as well. So something like this. And just a little bit of light on the sides, just like this. And don't worry if you get some paint in your skin, it's washable. You can always just wash after you finish. And if you notice, I didn't wash my brush after I used the blue. Why? Because I like actually the mix, the colors that we're getting here. And it's the color actually that I want my daubes to have as well. So that is why I didn't wash in this at this time. So you do the same on the back in all directions. It's like you're doing like a X. You see? The same on the other side. And it's getting lighter and lighter, which is also very cool. It's actually what we want to get to, a lighter color, but actually fading the color. Not that obvious that we're just painting on one blue and then on white, but more like a mix of tones. And just a little bit of paint. As you notice, I haven't used like the whole thing, right? With this paint, you can pretty much paint 10 doves because we're just using a little bit, a small amount of paint, right? It's not about the amount, but the quality and where you're using that paint. You just need a little bit of light, again, on the corners. And leaving also your dark areas so you see that contrast, right? If you feel like mixing a little bit of more tones here, you can add a little bit of red, just a little bit, to mix and create purple. And how do you make purple? Yes, you mix blue with a little bit of red and a little bit of white. So you get a nice purple here. And that purple will enhance those shadows that we already have been keeping as a black tone, but that will kind of give a little bit of more texture and tones here. So you add a little bit in here, and where you kept your black areas, here, and then here. So you see that darker area, it helps to have it actually more like a shadow, and it contrasts with the whites that we have been adding here. So the same on the back. So the fun part also comes when you have to decorate at the end with toothpicks. And remember that I mentioned that the toothpicks are also very important because are going to allow us to decorate, to give kind of the final, to enhance those areas where you start with the light, like this. And if you notice, I didn't add any white on the dark side, except here, just to have a little flower. But other than that, just the light, keep it in where you put the light colors, and the whites particular. And how do you put the eye? Well, the eye I actually usually add it with the back of your small brush, and I just put just a dot like that. You can do the same with your and just to give that final touch to the eye. Give a little bit of light. And we do the same with your perched dough. And at the end, they should look something like this, where you have decorated both, and with any little dot that you want. And then if you have the magnets, you just put your magnet at the end, or make sure that you put the string. And when you put the string, if you really want to keep the geometry and in balance, what you do, you just measure the length of the dough, and exactly at the half is where the balance, the string should go through. And is where the float is very helpful to have, because you just use maybe your toothpicks and to help you with the string to go through. And then just put a little knot at the end and cut the remaining, and your happy dough is done to decorate your Christmas tree, or to use it as a gift for a housewarming gift, or we use it also as for baptism ceremonies, or it's just a very nice decoration, and most importantly, you made it. So that's it for today. Well, I hope you enjoy learning a new painting technique, and if you feel like sharing your art with us, please use #Ciclomanias. And if you have any question or any comment, please leave it also in the comment section. And thanks again for watching.